It was supposed to be a quiet evening. You'd left work late, dragging your body home after a day spent faking polite smiles and swallowing other people's egos. Your phone buzzed in your pocket just as you reached the corner keys already in hand. One glance at the screen and you stopped walking. "From Mom, we changed the locks. Don't come by."
That was it.
No punctuation, no warmth, just cold black text on a white screen like a door slamming shut inside your chest. For a moment, you stared at it, waiting for the punchline. Maybe she sent it to the wrong number. Maybe it was about something else, a rental property, a miscommunication. You called, straight to voicemail. You texted back, "What's going on?" No reply. You stood there under the dull flicker of a dying street lamp, holding your keys like a joke, the cold metal biting into your palm.
It didn't feel real.
Until it did. You tried your dad's number. Disconnected.
You tried your sister. Read. No response.
Your heart raced, not in panic, but in the quiet, mechanical rhythm of something breaking inside you in real time. Not a crack. A shift. You hailed a ride, staring out the window the whole way. The streets were familiar, but now every house felt alien, like they'd all turned their backs just slightly, just enough to let you know you didn't belong. You arrived at the house you'd grown up in, only to see the porch light off. A box sat at the edge of the driveway. Your box. Your name sharpied in a rush across the top. Another bag beside it slumped and half open, exposing a bundle of your old notebooks, a jacket you thought you'd lost, a photo frame, still holding the image of you and your sister in Halloween costumes from a decade ago. You didn't cry. You just stood there, oddly calm, as though watching someone else's eviction. A neighbor peeked through their blinds. You saw the curtain twitch. No one came out. You didn't even try the door. You didn't want to give them the satisfaction of hearing you knock. Instead, you crouched down, zipped the bag closed, and carried it all to the curb. You sat on the concrete for a while, bags beside you, watching the house. A house that once held birthdays and flu seasons, game nights and quiet disappointments. Now it looked blank. Just wood and windows. Nothing that would hold you anymore. You checked your phone again. No missed calls. No new messages. Just that one line glowing cold. "We changed the locks." You remembered a time when your mom would stay up late, waiting to hear the sound of your key turning, flicking on the porch light like a beacon. You remembered the first time you came home crying after a friend betrayal, how she hugged you so tight you thought she'd never let go. You remembered that woman. But that woman didn't send this message. This message came from someone else. Someone who had made a decision not in anger, but with intent. And that hurt more than shouting ever could. A gust of wind knocked the photo frame face down. You picked it up, held it for a second, then placed it back in the box. You stood.
You didn't leave the street angry. You left it hollow.
But even then, before the temp jobs, before the slow burn, before the plan that would change everything, a part of you had already decided. This doesn't end like this. You don't get to be erased. Not quietly. Not permanently.
You walked away from that house for the last time.
But not the street. Not yet. You returned the ride to a place that doesn't feel like anywhere. A motel you booked last minute, its sign blinking VAC NCY because the A burned out years ago. The lobby smells like disinfectant and wet carpet, and the receptionist doesn't even look up when you check in. Room 2B, upstairs, end of the hall. It feels like exile. You drag your box and bags past someone arguing with a vending machine and let yourself into a room where everything is beige walls, curtains, silence. You sit on the bed stiff as a hospital cot and just stare. Your body's there, but you're not.
You check your phone again.
Still nothing. No explanation. No call. Just the message and the silence after. You replay every moment from the last few months. Did you say something? Forget something? Miss a birthday? But there was no final straw. Just a slow pullback you didn't realize was a retreat until the door slammed behind it. You should feel furious. You should be screaming, calling every family member, demanding answers. But all you feel is numb, like your brain wrapped itself in wool to keep from unraveling. You leave the motel and find a late-night diner nearby. It's open 24 hours, the kind where the waitress calls you hun and the coffee tastes like boiled gravel. But it's warm and the booth has a window, and right now that's enough. You eat slowly hash browns and eggs you can't taste and scroll through your photo album, not out of nostalgia, but to confirm that it wasn't always like this. There's a picture of your mom holding you when you graduated. Her hands cupping your face, eyes shining. A photo of your dad grilling in the backyard, looking up mid-laugh. Your sister asleep on your shoulder during a road trip, sunburned and content. You want to throw the phone across the room, but you don't. You pocket it. Pay your bill and go back to the motel. You don't sleep that night. You lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment your mother sent the message, not what it said, but when she typed it. What her face must have looked like as she hit send. Was it guilt? Smugness? Was she alone in the room, or did your father read it over her shoulder and nod? Did she hesitate?
You'll never know.
Morning hits like a truck, and you check your bank account.
It's not much.
Just enough for a month's rent if you find something cheap. Something temporary. You hit the classifieds. Apply for 3 jobs by 9 a.m. None of them are glamorous. One of them doesn't even include a salary, just the vague promise of commission potential. You take it anyway. You have to start somewhere. By the end of the week, you're living above a mechanic's shop in a room that smells faintly of tires and fried onions. You share a bathroom with a man named Terry who listens to conspiracy podcasts at full volume. The walls are thin, the nights are long, but it's yours, kind of. You keep your clothes in the same bag they threw on the curb. You fold them carefully each morning, not because you're neat, but because it feels like control. And every night after your shift selling discount office furniture, you walk the block where your family lives. Not to confront.
Just to see.
You walk by slowly, hoodie-up hands in pockets. The porch light's back on now. Someone hung a wreath. There's laughter inside, muted, but real. They moved on. So fast it hurts. You stand across the street staring at the silhouette of your childhood bedroom, now probably repainted, repurposed. You imagine someone else sleeping in there.
You imagine it doesn't hurt.
But it does.
So you turn around and walk home.
Again and again. Until one night, as you stand at the edge of the sidewalk, a wild thought blooms like heat in your chest. What if you didn't try to get back in? What if you bought the whole street instead? The thought doesn't leave you. It lodges somewhere between your ribcage and your pride, pulsing quietly as you fall asleep to the sound of Terry's late-night theories about government-controlled pigeons. You roll over in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, and whisper the words aloud just once. Buy the whole street. It sounds ridiculous. Delusional. Like the kind of thing people say when they're drunk or on the brink. But you're not either. You're just tired enough to finally stop asking why they threw you out and start asking what happens now. You don't sleep much that night, but when you wake up, something's shifted. You dress like you're going somewhere important, even if you're just catching a bus to your shift. You tie your shoes tighter, stand straighter. For the first time in weeks, you don't just feel like someone reacting to the world. You feel like someone building something under it. At work, no one notices. You still move furniture in the warehouse. Still sell desks to people who don't know your name. But your eyes are different now. They don't wander. They calculate. You download real estate apps on your lunch break. You Google things like how to buy property with no trust fund. You watch videos about generational wealth while eating vending machine pretzels in the break room. One night, back at the diner, the same waitress drops your check with a smile and says, "You always reading those finance things. You planning something." You smirk. Maybe. You don't elaborate, because you've learned that dreams should be kept quiet in their early stages like seedlings under frost. You pick up extra hours. You cancel subscriptions. You stop ordering takeout. Every penny becomes a soldier. Every dollar a brick in a wall that will someday stand between you and anyone who ever thought they could make you small.
Still, the hill is steep.
Saving is slow. You consider giving up more than once, especially on the nights when the room smells like oil and old onions and Terry is monologuing about aliens in the plumbing. But then you check the listings again, and you spot something. A house, 2 blocks from your family's, small, rundown, but bank-owned, listed below market price. You save the link like it's a love letter. You call a number, it leads to a real estate office run by a woman named Danielle. You expect the usual brush-off. You've been here before. Too young, too poor, too quiet. But Danielle doesn't dismiss you. She listens. She asks questions. She doesn't flinch when you tell her your budget. Instead, she says, "That property, it's been sitting. They want it off their books. We can make this happen." Something cracks open in your chest. Not relief. Not yet. But permission. You meet her in person. She's older, sharp-eyed, no nonsense. You like her immediately. She looks at your application and raises an eyebrow. "Let me guess. This isn't just about the house." You nod once. You don't lie. She leans in. "Then don't think like a buyer. Think like an architect. Streets change one brick at a time." You shake her hand. That night you walk by your family's street again. It looks the same. Safe. Quiet. Sleepy little lawns with sleepy little porches. But now, you don't walk past it like a ghost anymore. You walk past it like an architect, like a future landlord, like a storm that's learning to move slow. You never thought power would look like this. Not boardrooms or car keys tossed on granite counters. Not sharp suits or champagne in ice buckets. Power at this stage looks like calling the gas company on your lunch break. Like eating cereal for dinner 4 nights a week. Like keeping your room spotless in a building where no one else notices, because order is the only crown you can afford right now. You keep working the furniture job. Keep stacking checks like matchsticks. But the air around you hums different now. You're not just existing. You're advancing. Danielle comes through, she negotiates the house down even further, gets the closing costs covered. You cobble together the down payment from every inch of your savings, plus a grant you found buried in a government website at 2 a.m. It's not easy. You miss meals, miss birthdays. But when the papers are signed and the deed has your name on it, you sit on the floor of that empty, broken little house and laugh so hard you scare the neighborhood cats. The roof leaks. The pipes creak. The walls smell like someone stored secrets in them for 20 years. But it's yours. Your name.
Your terms.
And the best part, it's close enough to your parents' street to make your point, but not so close they can claim it. You live there as you fix it up, nights spent sanding floors, patching holes, watching tutorials on plumbing until your hands look like they've aged a decade. You sleep on an air mattress surrounded by drywall dust. You burn through gloves, but you do it all without asking anyone for a thing. And you save again. Every time you walk by your parents' house, still pristine, still glowing warm from the inside, you keep your eyes forward. You don't linger. You let them wonder. Over the next year, you flip that first house into a rental. Small family, quiet, paid on time. You use the income to buy a second property, then a third.
You don't broadcast any of it.
No Instagram posts, no reunions.
You just build.
Word gets around. You hear from a friend of a friend that your father mentioned someone buying up cheap properties nearby. He sounded annoyed, nervous even.
You smile at that.
Because now the movement has a name. Yours. You form an LLC. Quietly. The name isn't flashy. It's clean, neutral. You don't need it to scream. It just needs to exist. You stop renting rooms. Move into one of your own homes. A real bed. Real silence. You hang your clothes in a closet instead of folding them back into a suitcase like a fugitive. And one night, as you sit on your new porch eating leftover noodles out of the container, your phone buzzes. A number you don't recognize. The message reads, "Hi, I saw the sign in front of 808. Are you the owner? I might be interested in selling mine too." You check the address. It's 4 doors down from your parents. You finish your noodles, open your laptop, pull up your notes. Then you reply, "Let's talk." You lie back in your chair, arms behind your head, and stare up at the same stars you used to cry under. Only now, you don't cry. You calculate.
This isn't revenge. Not exactly.
It's reclamation. Danielle doesn't even flinch when you tell her your new plan. She leans back in her chair, glasses halfway down her nose, and says,
"You want to buy what now?"
You answer calmly, "The whole street." She blinks once, then again. And then she laughs, not mockingly, not at you, but with a kind of startled admiration, like she's just realized she's been sitting across from a storm disguised as a quiet breeze. "I'll need coffee," she says. You nod. "I'll buy the pot." The first seller signs quickly. The house is older, the owner tired of city taxes. You pick it up below value. Cash. Then the next one. A retired couple moving to Arizona. You walk the property with them, nodding politely as they reminisce about Christmases from the 90s. You smile. You mean it. You're not here to destroy memories, just to take back the space they left behind. And so it goes, door by door. Transaction by transaction. You don't tell anyone your last name. The LLC does the talking. No one connects the dots, just a quiet little company, seemingly generous, buying up old homes and fixing them with care. But you know what you're doing. You buy the place where your childhood friend lived before they moved away. The one where you once kissed someone on the porch, heart pounding and teenage hope boiling in your chest. You buy the corner house that used to blast music during summer cookouts. The one where your neighbor let you borrow sugar and advice. Every purchase is a memory reclaimed, a name rewritten. You never approach your parents' house, not directly. You let the circle tighten on its own. And the best part, you don't just own these homes. You transform them. Fresh paint, new gardens. You partner with small businesses to landscape, refinish, restore. You hire young people trying to start over. You give them jobs, keys, dignity. You build a community around the place that broke you, not to win, to replace. The street starts to hum again, not with silence or judgment, but with new life. You walk past one evening and hear laughter spilling from a porch you restored with your own hands. Kids ride bikes on sidewalks that once watched you walk home in tears.
And through it all, your family doesn't know.
Not officially, but they feel it. The street's changing. Their view now includes yards with modern fencing, solar panels small. This home proudly managed by signs staked neatly in the ground. You don't brand it loudly, but the signs, they have your initials, the ones they tried to wipe from the mailbox. Danielle calls you one morning, voice full of static and intrigue. "You ready for this?" she asks.
You're half awake, coffee in hand.
"Hit me!" She sends a photo. It's your mother standing on her lawn, staring at one of the signs you installed the day before. She's holding her phone like it betrayed her, staring at the name like it's a ghost with a deed. You zoom in. There's no mistaking it. You lean back in your chair and let out a breath that's been hiding in your lungs for months. There it is. Recognition. Not from shouting, not from begging, not from one last, "Please, call me back," but from a lawn sign. Small, unapologetic, undeniable. She knows. You don't need her to say it.
You just needed her to see it.
And now she has. The messages don't come right away. At first, just silence. Then the door stays shut longer. The porch light flickers out one evening and doesn't come back on for days. You notice the car stays parked in the same spot more often. Curtains that used to flutter open now hang stiff still.
You didn't expect confrontation, but you also didn't expect quiet.
Until it breaks. You're sitting in your office, just a corner room in one of the restored homes, converted into a neighborhood management space. There's nothing fancy inside. A whiteboard, a battered desk, a corkboard with hand-drawn thank you notes from the kids who now live in homes you fixed. One of them has your name spelled wrong. You don't change it. Your phone buzzes. Unknown number.
"We heard what you've been doing. We should talk."
"Dad," you stare at the message thumb hovering. Your brain goes perfectly still. Then another.
"It's not too late. Come home." Let's reset.
You close the phone. No reply. You walk to the window and look out over the block you now own. The sun's hitting the rooftops just right, casting long shadows that move gently across driveways you paid for gardens you planted. And still you feel that flicker, that tug of war between rage and yearning. Because yes, you built this without them. Yes, you survived. But some part of you still aches for the version of them who waited up for you, who hugged first, who answered the door even if the conversation was messy. But that's not who they are now. And you're not the child waiting to be let back in.
You're the owner of half the street.
A few days later, your sister texts, "They didn't mean it like that. You're taking it all too far."
You don't respond.
Instead, you scroll through photos of the renovated houses, the new shutters, the blue front doors, the porches filled with people who smile when they see you coming. You sit down and draft a proposal for the next property acquisition. You're offered a discount. You've become known in the area for paying fair, renovating fast, and never flipping just to raise rent. People trust you more than they trust the banks now.
That night you hear from an old friend.
"Dude, your dad's been asking around about you." Looks freaked. You reply with a simple, "He should be."
But the truth,
you're not out for revenge. You just don't want the version of them they keep trying to sell you. The polished reconciliation. The "we didn't mean it." The too late olive branch with strings tied tightly around the stem. No. You want reality. You want honesty. But mostly, you want distance. The kind that isn't just emotional, it's legal. It's spatial. It's literal land between you and the people who made you feel disposable. Another week passes. Then your mother sends her message.
"We see you. You've made your point. Can we meet?"
You read it over twice. You don't reply. You know if you see her, she'll cry. And for a second, you'll forget. You'll fall back into the warmth of memories that no longer match the facts. You'll start to believe that what they did was some kind of twisted mistake instead of a deliberate choice. So you leave the message on read.
Instead, you walk the block again.
Your block. And for the first time in a long time, you realize you're not walking past their house anymore. You're walking past yours. It happens on a Wednesday morning. No announcement, no prelude. Just a moment you almost miss, sipping lukewarm coffee on your porch, thumbing through repair invoices. Your mother steps outside. You haven't seen her in person in over a year. Not since that message. The one that turned a family into a memory. And yet, there she is. Standing on the stoop, like it's still her kingdom, like nothing's changed. She's in her robe, holding a mug too delicate for her grip. Her hair is thinner, her shoulders lower. The years haven't just passed, they've landed on her. You watch from across the street unseen, or so you think. She glances around, maybe looking for a morning paper, maybe just scanning her little world out of habit. But her eyes catch on the lawn sign, your sign. The one that says, "Proudly maintained by KM Holdings." Her lips part. One step forward. She stares like it might vanish if she looks too hard. You can almost see the realization clicking into place. Not just about who owns these homes, but about how long this has been happening right under her nose. She doesn't call out. She doesn't wave. She just stares. And then, slowly, deliberately, she turns around and walks back inside. No words, no apology, no scene. But you've never felt louder. That afternoon, Danielle drops by for paperwork. She catches the look on your face and raises an eyebrow. Did she see it? You nod. Danielle smirks. Bet that tasted like vinegar. You both laugh. Not cruelly, just honestly. The kind of laughter that rises from justice too long delayed.
You get back to work.
The next two properties go under contract quickly. The neighborhood buzzes with rumors. People ask polite questions at corner stores, at community meetings. "Are you related to the people in the White House?" someone asks.
You say we used to be close.
That's all. Because the truth isn't just complicated, it's private now. You don't owe anyone the story. You owe yourself the peace that comes from not having to repeat it. Then 2 days later, you find a note in your mailbox. Plain envelope, no stamp. Just your name in careful, familiar handwriting. You stare at it for a long time. Eventually you open it. Inside one sentence. Can we start over? You sit with that sentence for almost an hour. You hold it like it might sting or sing or disappear. But it doesn't do any of that. It just sits there.
Too late, too late.
You don't write back. Instead, you take a walk down your street, past your homes and past hers. The curtains don't move. The porch light is on again. The world feels balanced in a way you never imagined it could be.
You didn't get your apology.
You didn't get the closure you used to cry for, but you got something better. A quiet truth.
They see you now.
Even if they can't say it, they start reaching out like a slow leak. First, it's your father through a LinkedIn message because of course it is. Formal, polished, titled Reconnection Opportunity, like he's applying for a job in your life. I've been thinking about everything. Would love to talk, just the two of us.
You don't open it.
Then your brother sends a group text something vague about missing how things used to be. Your sister follows with a single emoji, as if a heart in grayscale can undo being silent when you needed her most. You ignore them all,
not to be petty.
But because you've learned that not every invitation deserves a response. They're not reaching out because they've changed.
They're reaching out because you did.
Because the silence isn't on your side anymore. The power is. You spend your days differently now. Reviewing construction budgets, signing checks, mentoring 2 kids from the local school who shadow you on Fridays. You host small workshops on financial literacy from the front room of a property you used to cry past.
At night you cook.
Not frozen dinners or takeout. Real food, with herbs grown in pots on your kitchen sill. The air smells like garlic and rosemary, not old motor oil and regret. One evening, there's a knock on the door.
It's your aunt.
The only one who ever sent a birthday card after the lockout. She stands there with a store-bought pie and a wary smile.
I was just in the neighborhood, she says, like the lie might break if you press too hard.
You let her in. Because forgiveness doesn't always have to be broadcast. It can arrive softly, one person at a time. You eat pie. She tells you stories you forgot, asks questions no one else bothered to. And as she leaves, she stands in the doorway and says, "Your mom knows she messed up." You just nod, because that part
isn't your job to fix.
The next day, your company receives a property inquiry. Another house on the block. One of the few remaining you don't yet own. The address jumps out immediately directly beside the house where your parents live.
You buy it within the week. Not for spite.
But because it opens the possibility of building something better there. Maybe a little park. Maybe a food pantry. Maybe just a bench with a plaque that says, "To those still healing, you're not alone." You don't need them to watch it go up. But you know they will. One afternoon while you're checking in on the landscaping, your mother walks past on the sidewalk. She doesn't stop. She doesn't speak. But her pace slows, and her eyes linger. Just enough to say what her mouth can't. That she knows. That she sees it. All of it. The houses. The growth. You. And you don't gloat. You don't stare back. You just press your hand gently to your chest and whisper barely audible to the wind. "I'm home." You walk the street alone. No destination. No clipboard. No headphones. Just the sound of your steps and the low hum of sprinklers turning on in timed unison. A rhythm you paid for, coordinated block by block. A street that once held the blueprint of your erasure now bends beneath your feet like it was always meant to carry you. The sun's low, casting long shadows that stretch like memories. You pass freshly painted porches, tidy lawns, bicycles leaned against mailboxes. A dog barks once behind a gate you had installed for a single mother with twin boys and a night shift.
This is no longer your past. This is your project.
Your proof. You stop at a corner. From here you can see it all, the home you rebuilt from the studs, the one where you held your first tenant meeting, the one where a local artist painted a mural that reads, "You deserve to stay."
You stand there letting the words settle. You do deserve to stay. You didn't always believe that.
Not when they first locked the door. Not when your name was wiped from utility bills like a typo in a spreadsheet. Not even when you bought your first house. But now, Now it's written in every window you repaired, every lawn you mowed yourself before you could afford help, every lease you drafted with clauses designed to protect, not exploit.
You finally look toward their house.
Your family's house. Still the same white siding. Still the same shutters. But it's quieter now. Smaller somehow. Not physically, just spiritually. Like the house shrank when you stopped orbiting it. A curtain shifts.
You don't wait to see who's behind it.
You just nod to yourself and keep walking. Because they're not the center of the story anymore. You are. You turn the corner and see the newest lot, still dirt, still chaos. But you already know what it'll become. A small library box on a post. A swing set. A shaded bench. A still place for people who never had one. You kneel down and run your fingers through the soil. It smells rich, forgiving. It clings to your skin like an old friend. In the distance, the porch light from your family's home clicks on. But it doesn't stop you anymore. You stand, brush off your hands, and walk back toward your house, the one you chose, designed, deserved. A neighbor waves. A kid races past on a scooter. A wind chime rings softly from a porch you refinished last fall. And for the first time in your life, your smile isn't forced. It's rooted. You move in quietly. No announcement, no ribbon cutting, no Instagram caption dripping with subtext. Just a Kia door and a Sunday morning with more sun than you know what to do with. The house isn't extravagant. It doesn't have a pool or a foyer that echoes. It has creaky floorboards and windows that catch the morning light in all the right places. You chose this house not because it's flashy, but because it's 3 doors down from the one that once closed on you.
And this time, no one can lock you out.
You bring in your furniture, slowly, half of it thrifted, some of it built by hand, a few pieces salvaged from the first renovation project you ever completed. It feels like bringing memories home, but ones you chose, not ones forced on you. You hang art from local creators. You keep the walls a soft, clean white. You light a candle that smells like pine and citrus and freedom. That night, you cook a meal from scratch. Not for anyone else. Just for you. You eat on the porch barefoot, a glass of wine in hand, watching the breeze shift the leaves of the tree you planted yourself last spring. A neighbor walks by, waving.
You finally moved in, they ask. You smile. Yeah. Took me a while.
They nod. Worth it.
You look at your house, your block, and for the first time there's no echo of loss behind the joy. Just the present. Just the truth. You didn't claw your way back to their doorstep. You built your own. You turned one property into a promise, then a pattern, then a full ecosystem. You didn't erase the pain. You grew past it, around it, through it. A few months later, you turn the empty house next door into a community resource hub, shelves filled with free books, job postings, childcare signups. The house beyond that becomes subsidized housing for families starting over. You don't live at the top. You live within.
One morning, as you water the front steps, your mom walks by. Not close, just enough to be seen. She pauses. You lock eyes for a beat.
You don't flinch.
She opens her mouth. Closes it. Keeps walking. And you...
You go back to watering the steps.
Because there's nothing left to say. You're no longer the one outside begging to be let in. You are inside, not in their house, in your home. And this home was built from everything they threw away. Now it's quiet. Not the silence of being locked out. Not the kind that echoes through a hallway after someone slams the door behind them. This is a quieter, quiet, soft, earned safe. The kind that settles over a space you made yourself brick by slow brick, not to prove anything, but to finally breathe. The house creaks a little when you walk barefoot across the floor. The kind of sound that would have driven your father nuts, but now makes you smile. It reminds you this place is lived in, loved, imperfect, and fully yours. You sit by the window as the sun begins to dim, and everything outside is calm. Porches lit with warm bulbs, sprinklers clicking on in sync, the scent of someone grilling down the street. The same street that once pushed you out, now folded around you like it had been waiting. You sip something warm.
You don't check your phone. You don't replay the message that started it all.
Because it doesn't own you anymore. The locks they changed, you outgrew the door. The silence they left you with, you turned it into space. The pain. You carried it long enough to turn it into place, into power, into peace. There's nothing flashy about this ending. No dramatic reunion. No teary apology. No moment where they suddenly understand everything they lost. But you understand what you gained.
And that's enough.
That's more than enough. So you sit still. You breathe softly. And if you're still awake, that's okay too. Some nights just lying still and breathing softly is enough to return home to yourself.